this is months and months of anticipation to not only see Chris in a Warriors jersey, but to see the actual X's and O's and see these guys on the court trying to make it work. Draymond Green's ankle injury obviously answers the starting lineup question, and they go small with Chris sharing that backcourt with Steph. But how did it look?
Yes, it's funny you mentioned months and months of anticipation. I think the biggest thing we've learned over the last 10 days is that it's been months and months of work too. Chris Paul like heard of the trade, absorbed it, made sure from the Warriors like, hey, I'm here. That's they didn't even get in on the Drew Holiday talk. It was like, no, Chris Paul's been here for 2 months. He's been around the facility a ton. And he played a bunch of pickup all summer with Steph Curry. Klay Thompson's been in some pickup games. A bunch of the young guys, like they've glowed behind the scenes about the way he's like handled, just professionally handled himself, but also like Jonathan Kuminga, who was great in the preseason opener. And there were a lot of people hitting behind the scenes like they think a third-year leap is coming. They'll also say Chris Paul's done a lot to help bring that along. They've paired him all summer in scrimmages, Paul and Kuminga, on teams together. And the curtains were kind of finally open to the media this last week. And after the first practice, I went in and Chris Paul is just so diligent about his approach. And it's like after the first day of practice, he's out there for an hour with Steph Curry after practice, going through split cut action and, different, hit and hand back game, handoffs, and just stuff that Chris Paul didn't necessarily normally do at other points of his career, but he knows it's like it's a Steph Curry Warriors system type thing. Just, he's just working out there for an hour and like not even just like as like a listening to Steph. You could tell he's making points about how he likes it. He's trying to learn different stuff. He's trying to add nuances, and you could just tell from the Warrior side of things, they really are just loving the personality, the presence that has been dropped in their franchise. They wanted it. They've craved a Chris Paul presence where, we know the Chris Paul arc is usually like, year one, year two, he always bumps his team's win totals up. They love the serious approach. And then it kind of gnaws on a franchise over a couple of years. And oftentimes, at least lately, it's led to split ups. But right now it's honeymoon phase. We'll see how he plays, how healthy he stays, but it's looked really good. And all the signs behind the scenes are very good about it. They had some nice, go ahead, Sam.
No, I was jumping in front of Fred, admittedly. It's funny.
I was just gonna say Slater's dropping bars. It's honeymoon phase. We'll see how he plays, how healthy he stays. My goodness.
Wow. I didn't even thank you.
Or is this the end of days? Slater with the bars. I like it. To go full circle, to hear you talk about Chris Paul and the fact that the Warriors did not get in on Drew Holiday, I would actually love to talk to Chris about, and Chris being Chris, he probably wouldn't really tell you, but to know how he feels and thinks about that choice, because I would guess that it actually did mean a lot to him at this stage in his career. He's a future Hall of Famer, point guard, one of the best to ever do it. He's had this like tough multi-year run of getting cast aside. You know what I mean? In Houston, and here's the part where it's full circle talking about the Harden situation in Philly. We always kind of forget Chris Paul was sideways with James when he left Houston too. That was uncomfortable. And part of that was that idea that the team you were with started trying to get the next guy. It was Russell Westbrook over Chris in Houston. And he's been through that before. If they did go after Drew and Chris heard about it, the Warriors, that is, I could absolutely see that being the kind of thing that, that kind of poisons this dynamic early on. And the Warriors, I think, were wise to not do that. Because he, it sounds corny, but like the dude wants to be appreciated and actually, embraced at this stage of his career, because that resume is incredible. And we kind of forget that part.
Yeah. They're doing it publicly and also privately. And it's interesting to see him in that Warriors locker room, because you drop a lot of guys in there, and I wouldn't say like overwhelmed by like just like the personalities in the locker room, but they just don't emerge into like big figures, and you can already just tell like Chris Paul is not just a leader but a voice like immediately in the Warriors locker room. And I didn't know that was going to be the case, but it's pretty obvious it is. Post game, they had there were some Dallas Cowboys people that were in the post game, because it was Saturday night. Obviously, the Cowboys playing in San Francisco on Sunday, and Chris Paul is a Cowboys fan, so he's kind of holding court with some Cowboys people, but he was going around the room and slapping everybody, telling them enjoy your off day Sunday. There's a young point guard that's like kind of a camp invitee who had his kid was there, and his kid wanted to take a picture with Chris Paul, and just the way Chris Paul is operating, it's you have a camp invitee who's like, can you take a picture with my kid? And he's just screaming across the room, like, come on, bring him over here and all that. I don't know. I'm just like, wow, like I didn't know how it was going to be early. And it's like,
that's a
I
little
don't want to say
different
owns the room,
from,
because he doesn't, but
Sure.
he's a big figure in the room.
That's a little different from Vegas Summer League, when he got asked the question about starting and kind of fired back that, you the coach, when you see him prickly and you thought that might be the way it was going to go.